Sorry, we'll get you right back to programming here in a second. I want to give you an update on our developing winter storms. These very cold temperatures continue to take hold across the state and, of course, across the city as well.
16 degrees right now with winds out the east at 31 miles per hour. We'll see gusts near 45 miles per hour.
Overlooked by most. Easily ignored. Living in the city's shadows. Like any metropolitan area, homelessness exists in Albuquerque. In 2011, city leaders became determined to take the most vulnerable members of the homeless population off the streets and place them into permanent housing. It was not an easy task, but determination and a community pulling together created a path to success. For the Heading Home project and the city of Albuquerque, it's the smart way to do the right thing.
It's hard to describe how it is out there because you have to live it to know what it's like. You know, you meet different people from different states, from different neighborhoods, youngsters. Like, I seen all the people when I was younger and I was on the streets. All of them are gone. Most of them are gone. I don't know if they're dead or in prison or I don't know where they're at. And a lot of these younger people are on the streets now, but it's the same thing. It doesn't change. Same thing goes on year after year. It doesn't change, you know.
We have seen an increase in the number of homeless. We've seen an 18% increase in the number of homeless women. There are about 6,000 students in APS that are homeless and up to 4,000 adults that are homeless on the streets. I don't think we're going to see improvement, but I hope we're not going to see it get worse. Anything we can do to get these people off the street permanently is something that we need to do.
If you had 3 wishes, what would they be?
Oh, one of them would be to have a place to stay, a place to live, like I used to have. You know, I miss being domestic. You know, I'm kind of losing that feeling as time goes by. And I'm kind of worried about that. I don't want to be like some of these people out here. They've been out here for years and they're getting used to it.
I tried working with mental illness. It was hard. With nowhere to take a shower, it's impossible. Without having clean clothes, without smelling good, without combing your hair. It's kind of hard for anybody to hire you. Can't even use a public bathroom when your hair is not combed.
A permanent physical disability that limits your mobility.
Right now, to get through the system is incredibly challenging. To get to the right office at the right appointment at the right time.
Have they actually told you that or not really?
To have all your paperwork with you in order. There's such a monumental thing to accomplish when you're living on the street. First, where do you have the paperwork sent? How do you maintain that paperwork and then get it to the right office? That's one appointment. Typically, there are a lot more appointments. To coordinate that without a car, while you're trying to survive, while you're trying to find a place to eat or to sleep.
There were a lot of different doors that people could enter when they were homeless and they were looking for services. And we also knew from speaking with the people in other communities who had done this sort of work that really the most vulnerable and the most chronically homeless people probably wouldn't knock on any door.
And so I started looking for best practices around the country, didn't find anything that I thought exactly fit Albuquerque in our current situation, but we had done some preliminary work over the years and took some ideas from some other cities and then crafted some of our own ideas into this idea of how can we help people get stabilized, get them off the streets where they're most likely to die, the medically vulnerable, the chronically homeless, and at the same time be better stewards of these resources that we're entrusted with as a city.
The mayor or the county supervisors, when they're on board, can make such a difference because those are the places where everything comes together, right? And in some communities, they're doing this without even the support yet of the elected officials, but they believe it's so important to move ahead that by moving ahead, they can hopefully encourage the people who've been elected to come along.
Homeless is really about all of us. It affects all of us. It's not just about the people who are living on the street. It's not just about those of us who encounter them. on the way to work. And it's certainly not just about all of the incredible nonprofits who provide the service. And any kind of solutions to dealing with homeless need all of us, from the police to the hospitals to the members of the faith community and to the business community. That's just the way it makes sense for a whole community to approach homelessness.
The very beginning was, can we bring all of the experts, all of the people who have been working on homeless issues for many years together, and will they want to join with us on Albuquerque Heading Home? To our great gratification and some surprise, yes, they did want to join with us. They came because I think they care so much about this population, and they saw that this was an opportunity to address it in a different way, and what we had been doing wasn't having the kind of impact that they had hoped for.
Immediately, for me, the connection became the fact that, you know, we deal with owners that have homes, apartments, rental units, whatever, throughout the state, and it just seemed like a really kind of a no-brainer that we would be partnering and somehow be able to facilitate that portion of the process.
So we needed to determine how to reach those people, and the first thing we did was to conduct our survey week. That was ironically, but really very fortunately, done during the coldest time that we had had in Albuquerque for decades.
The winter storm continues to impact much of New Mexico, bringing dangerous cold conditions, also heavy snow in many locations, and of course the wind as well.
Of course, as we mentioned, there's a human factor. If you're going to be out here, the wind is going to go through no matter how many layers you're wearing, and any exposed skin is going to be a danger.
All right, are you okay answering just a few questions? And we can get this survey done? See if we can find you a good, safe, warm place to stay. Thank you for doing this, by the way. It affects us, actually, probably more than it affects them. You know, these are individuals who are living in a really difficult situation. So do you have any medical concerns that you know of? Anything going on? No? Okay.
And maybe it was a blessing in disguise for us, for Albuquerque Heading Home, the fact that those first days were so bitterly cold. It was all over the news. Our community was very, very aware how cold it was because they were feeling it. And then we could have the discussion about homelessness at the same time, and they could see the pictures, they could see the photographs and the news coverage of people living in just abysmal conditions in our community during some of the worst weather we'd seen in decades. And as difficult as that was, that I think was part of the catalyst for Heading Home.
More than 100 volunteers, including Mayor R.J. Berry, are out in Albuquerque streets right now, searching for the city's most vulnerable homeless. News 13's Dave Romero live in the Newsplex with more on this. David.
Deanna, the first phase of Albuquerque Heading Home started this morning well before the crack of dawn. Starting at 3:30, members from the mayor's office, including the mayor himself, were joined by over 100 volunteers to head out and find 75 of Albuquerque's chronic homeless. The goal is to have about 20 teams canvass 20 areas around town and find where the homeless may be sleeping. From there, they'll be surveyed to determine how long they've been on the street and what health problems they face.
Any other household members stay with you last night? Any household members at all? Okay.
My dog.
Okay. Yeah, well, that's the way my dog is. Let's see here. Do you have a disability? Disability can include physical, mental health, substance abuse issues. Okay.
HIV or AIDS?
Been exposed a few times, but I always come up negative.
How many times have you gone to the emergency room?
I don't know, about 3 or 4 times.
Okay.
Some of the obstacles were, after we'd identified the folks and had them down, was actually going back out and finding them in the streets. We'd made plans. We'd tried to give them phone numbers where we could reach out to them, of community voicemail. We asked them where they spent most of their time, but it became amazingly difficult to actually go back out and relocate the individuals that had been identified in the initial survey. That was a huge obstacle. And then it was taking them, assembling all their information and getting them into an intake point, and so that they could be qualified for housing and for the services.
It's been more than 2 months since the city set out to find the 75 most vulnerable homeless people in Albuquerque and set them up in homes with all the basic necessities. Nearly 600 were surveyed and the 75 have been identified. But we've learned only 3 homeless people have been placed in homes. City officials tell us they're actively looking for homes for the other 72 people, but it's a long process. Back in January, Mayor Richard Berry said the initiative will cost about $500,000. He says it will actually save taxpayers money because the estimated health care bill for just those 75 vulnerable homeless is more than $900,000 per year.
What I'm looking for is I'm looking to make sure that when we hit a hurdle, we don't stop and get discouraged. Yeah, we get our head down. If we hit a hurdle, we jump it. We knock it down. We get a sledgehammer out. We do what we got to do.
We have a good team, so you have high expectations. But when we were struggling along at 1 or 2 placements a month to 8 or 10, that was a huge win for us. I mean, it was just, you could almost feel the sense of relief in the room for the Court Vision team to go, okay, we've hit on something now. We've discovered a key element to actually making this thing click.
No one really thought that the mayor would actually do this. The homeless would say, if he does anything, it'll be a miracle. They don't believe the headlines. The homeless are rarely believe anything that anyone tells them unless they see it for themselves. Yeah, I was excited to come in here and sit down and just take a breather and say, wow, I'm in my own place. It's exciting, yeah.
That was pretty much the end of the line. And I thought, am I going to be out here until I die or what? What's happening here? And I really just started to lose some kind of faith in my ability altogether. I thought maybe it's just me. Maybe this is the cards that I was dealt with. Maybe this is what my life was supposed to consist of. I don't know, it gets worse and worse every day. It's not an easy thing to get out of.
The restaurant always had cardboard boxes, so I would lay it right here in this, basically right behind this dumpster. It used to be a little bit more over here. Then I'd have this, I'd prop this up in case if it rained or anything like that, and kind of created more of a little bit of privacy. Well, this is where I'd come and take care of my hygiene, shave, brush my teeth, wash my face. Thank God it was here.
I can't help but to look back and see what my situation was before, and I look at people that are still in this situation and just it saddens me, and I see those faces of just not really having any hope, and I was wondering if I had that same type of look, on my face. I know I tried not to, but it's hard to say what other people see in you when they think that you're a transient.
So this morning, I'd like to go see if I can locate a couple of the individuals that are on the list. As you can see, there's one of the locations where people stay. Are you doing okay today?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you staying out of the heat?
Yes, ma'am. I was going to the hospital.
What's up, bud? Because if it is you, Jim, then we can get some stuff going. Okay?
Does this have anything to do with the mayor?
Yes, sir.
And we've been looking and looking and looking for him, and there he was. And so that brings us such enthusiasm and inspiration to keep on moving on for the next person, the next Jim.
Yeah, I signed up at
All right.
noonday, I think it was.
Yep. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm just getting over a stroke that I just had.
You just had a stroke? And you're sleeping on the streets?
I was in the hospital for almost a month.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry, Jim. Are you feeling okay now? Are you on medications?
I was on medication, but I can't afford to use it.
So are you okay spending a little bit of time with me here this morning?
Sure.
Awesome. Okay.
Somebody like Jim, who didn't know to walk in the door, that we were able to reach out and find. He had signed up for the program, but had been then kind of lost in the system, and there he was sitting out on Civic Plaza. And that's an example of our coordination that we've not had in the past. All of the agencies now working together to actively look for these people and to reach out to them. So when we see him, it's very much somebody who wants some improvement in his life. He's ready to come in, but hasn't been given that opportunity until now.
I think they explained to you the reason you're here. Okay, it's time to help you find suitable and affordable housing. Any other services you need, Lance is your case manager. He will be able to assist you with that.
I'm actually coordinating the care for clients, so what we're doing is we're re-identifying the clients that were surveyed, we're finding them housing, we're connecting them to services out in the community, behavioural health, Section 8, that type of thing. We're making sure that all that's in place so that the clients don't have to duplicate a lot of the stuff. There we go. That's your living room, Jim.
And that's Albuquerque.
It's Albuquerque. So you got your cable hookups here, I think they're ready for cable, should you want to do that.
Yeah, when it rained, I scooted myself up into that corner, and I wouldn't get wet.
Jim, what's the difference do you feel now that from being outside, from being into an apartment for you?
Well, I is getting used to there now, but the first 2 days I was over there, I didn't know what to do with myself.
But is there a sense of safety, pride?
Warmth.
Warm.
And how many times how long have you been homeless this time?
From this time I've been homeless already going, give or take, about 2 years.
Okay. Are you on the streets ever or any shelters?
Yeah.
Okay. Streets?
Streets, under bridges, wherever I can.
Any misdemeanors, felonies, anything?
Can I lie?
No. You may not lie.
Okay, let me see. Well,
no, because we're gonna, none of these questions really affect your housing status, okay? So this doesn't affect whether or not you can be housed.
Okay.
It's just that when they run a background, they're gonna see that. And when we try to place you into an apartment and they run a background, if you tell me you don't have anything in your background and you go to an apartment and they say, oh, well, she has a felony conviction, they're not going to rent to you.
Right.
Okay, so we're just going to try to prevent all of that.
Okay, well, I was in jail, like I said, a few years, like, I don't know, give or take maybe like 4 years, 3 years ago back. I was for possession.
Okay, that was a felony?
Right.
Okay.
Most people have a jail record. So we're working with everyone to really, not just with the people, but the system to ask, is our only solution to put this person back out on the street, or can we really navigate the system on their behalf to make them successful?
That process is slower because I think there's still some education and kind of some fear on, okay, well, what does that entail if I say, yes, you were homeless and you don't have a job and I'm going to let you live in my community. So that's been a little bit of a challenge, but it certainly hasn't prevented us from getting people involved and willing to commit. And it's I think not backing off from the commitment that we want to obtain from our members.
I've spent almost 20 years now in homeless services, and so this is something that for many years I have seen as a need. They're a very difficult population to serve, and so it's a great opportunity to finally reach the homeless folks that a lot of times the programs do not address. when you try to coordinate between all of these different programs, that's when you see what's really going on and what is keeping people from being housed. So the initiative addressed really a lot of different issues in addition to, let's look at the programs, what are we doing as providers, and let's get past those hurdles and just get people into housing. And that's been one of the great results.
I think he's put together a dream team of people with amazing experience. If you look at where these people came from, several of them are CEOs, former CEOs of major nonprofits in our community working on this issue, and having them come together, people like Dorothy and Jody and Lance, and now the newest person, Jenny. It's really, it's astonishing, and that's one of the reasons that the nonprofit community is so supportive of what we're doing, because these are people they know can get the job done.
We couldn't be happier with the initial results, but I still know that this is still the beginning. But when we can see the real difference in people's lives from where they were a year and a half ago to where they are today, we can see what happens when we're actually able to house people and provide them the dignity of space and the ability to order their lives.
An interesting piece of this entire initiative are the people behind the scenes, which are hundreds of volunteers throughout the community. That includes business partners, it includes the private mom and pop and their kids wanting to do something helpful, and there are so many opportunities for people to be involved. From ride-alongs where we're out reaching out to people with water, blankets, to people who actually want to collect the towels and things that are needed, to people moving in furniture. Other teams are forming to raise money to buy furniture for people. This is a huge, huge collaboration that is definitely involves all of our community together.
Just, it's good to know that they've got shelter, and looks like the program's working, and gives these folks a second chance and a better chance. Give them a roof over their heads and give them some dignity.
We kind of have a theme today, and the theme is promises made, promises kept. We're celebrating today, and we're making sure that people understand that this is an important project. But when we said we're going to house 75 people in a brand new program last year, there was a lot of people that didn't think we would be able to get it done, and here we are today, and we've housed 76 individuals. So give yourselves a round of applause for that. So we've had a good first year. We really have. And I can tell you, as a mayor, I work on a lot of initiatives. We work on budgets, we work on public safety, we do lots of things that we're proud of to work on behalf of the citizens of Albuquerque. But there's nothing that I'm more proud of as a mayor than this effort. And I'm really proud for a lot of reasons. I'm not proud of myself, I'm proud of our community. We had an opportunity to step up and make a big, big difference, and team with some people that are already out there making a big difference, who've been doing this for years. We've got another big year. We've set another maybe audacious goal, if you will, for next year. We're going to house another 90. By this time next year, I want to come back and report to you that we've put another 90 people in permanent housing from the chronically homeless list that we have, those most vulnerable in our community, those most likely to die on the streets of Albuquerque. We want to get that number from 76 to 165.
We want homelessness to become rare, short-lived, and non-recurring. And that means that not very many people become homeless because we do homeless prevention activities skillfully. We also want it to be short-lived so that when someone does become homeless, they are housed very quickly so that they don't get into this chronic situation that many of the people we're housing now are experiencing. And then we want it to be non-recurring. In other words, we want people to maintain their housing once they are housed.
I don't know how to explain the right word, but each and everything to me is worth $1 zillion. My lamp, my couch, my home, everything I learn each day is pride in my heart. I don't take nothing for granted.
I was in the streets for 20 some years. If I wasn't in the streets, I was in jail or in prison. But it was always, on the, not having an apartment or where to. It's rough, man. It's not easy being out there, even though there's shelters where they feed you and clothe you and all that. But it's not easy, it's hard. It's a hard life.
Growing up, Bernadette Garcia had only seen glimmers of her father between his heroin addiction and his stints in prison. She had eventually resigned herself to thinking that he was dead until she saw him on the news.
It's been 14 years since Bernadette Garcia has seen her father.
And it wasn't her fault, it was mine, the kind of life I was living and what I was doing and all that. So, I'm really sorry, Bernadette.
That's okay,
really
Dad.
Sorry.
You're here now. Last month, we introduced you to Simon Aragon, a homeless man who was taken off the streets last year as part of a city program called Albuquerque Heading Home.
Thank God. It's just been long and hard, and especially not knowing anything, not knowing where he's at, or if he's dead or alive or in prison. Didn't know what, I need him in my life. I want him in my life.
So do I.
It was hard growing up without him. It was.
I didn't recognize myself. Man, that can't be me. I look like I was 80 years old. And I don't think I would have lasted much longer the way I looked on it. I couldn't even believe it myself. But I went that far down to the ground.
The mayor's initiative to end homelessness has such an amazing amount of support that it cannot fail. We're really looking until we find the right solution to change people's lives, to save the system money, but to really make Albuquerque a place we all want to live and a place where we all can live.
I feel more comfortable knowing that I'm succeeding at something. I'm off the street, I'm off of this, I'm off of that. And I just keep following that trail until I get myself straightened out. Hoping for more and then planning more. But I'm just going to take it a day at a time without making any mistakes along the way. I cannot go through that again. I don't think I'd make it, not that way.
I'm able to be just like you. And I can get up in the morning in my own bed. I can make my own cup of coffee. I can take a shower when I want. I can check my mail. I can breathe. Just like everybody else out there now. Not just a shadow on the wall.